Viewer discretion is advised.
Jacksonville Jaguars, Blaine Gabbert. Gabbert was drafted 10th overall in 2011 to be Jacksonville's franchise quarterback, and, well, let's just say that didn't pan out the way anybody hoped. He lasted just 3 seasons in Jacksonville due to his terrible play, finishing with 22 touchdowns, 24 interceptions, and a 66.4 rating. He also went 5-22 in 27 starts. Ever since then, he's somehow managed to bounce around the league, collecting checks as a spot starter/backup, and he even won a Super Bowl with Tampa in 2020. Maybe he'll finally get a chance to start for Tampa when Tom Brady retires for good in 2020. Jacksonville Jaguars 1999 AFC Championship game. The 1999 Jags went 14-2 and had just won a playoff game by 55 points heading into the 1999 AFC Championship game. They were favored by 7 points over Tennessee, who was ironically the only team to beat them that season. It started out great, with Jacksonville having a 14-7 lead late in the first half before Tennessee took over. Jacksonville committed 6 turnovers, and Tennessee scored the last 26 points of the game to win handily 33-14. Yes, the 1999 Jags went 0-3 against Tennessee and 15-0 against the rest of the league. Jacksonville Jaguars, Cam Robinson. Robinson signed a $54 million contract thanks to a career year in 2021, but still, it was a bit of a leap of faith for a guy who allowed double-digit sacks multiple times and had at least 30 blown blocks and 5 penalties in each of 2017, 2019, and 2020. Oh yeah, in 2018, he only played 2 games. So good luck, Jackson. Jacksonville Jaguars, Byron Leftwich. Jacksonville has never had any superstar quarterbacks in its history, so it was difficult to choose an overrated one, but I went with Leftwich. He was drafted 7th overall in 2003 to be the franchise quarterback, but he lasted just 4 years with the team before being replaced by David Garrard. Leftwich has gone on to become a hot commodity as an offensive coordinator, but as a player, he never came close to living up to the Jacksonville Jaguars, Brandon Scherff. The Jags are rebuilding and banking on tons of young, highly drafted players to reach their potential, so they don't have many established players on the roster right now. Scherff is one of the few that has proven himself as a 5-time Pro Bowler and 1-time first-team All-Pro. However, Scherff is injury-prone and hasn't played a full season since 2016. Jacksonville Jaguars, Trevor Lawrence. Lawrence got a pass from everybody for his horrible rookie season. While he certainly was in a terrible situation, isn't a generational quarterback prospect supposed to elevate his teammates? I didn't see nearly enough from him to justify the insane hype he came in with. He has no more excuses this year. Verdict, overrated. Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jaguars go as Trevor Lawrence goes. It's that simple. Lawrence was absolutely terrible as a rookie, and I'm tired of people giving him every excuse in the book for it. Yes, I know the Urban Meyer situation was horrendous. I get it, I do. You don't have to explain it to me. But get this, Lawrence was supposed to be a generational, situation-proof type quarterback that rarely comes around. When I watch him, I just don't see that. He's a tick slow on his reads, and his arm, while good, isn't strong enough to make up for being late on his reads, hence a lot of interceptions. Now, he has a Super Bowl winning head coach in his ear, Doug Peterson, so the excuses must stop. Although if Lawrence sucks again, we all know Jags fans will blame his supporting cast. This is the same cycle of denial I mentioned earlier with Bears fans and Justin Fields. Let me put it this way. If a rookie quarterback in today's NFL, where literally every rule is designed to make their life as easy as possible, still sucks, chances are they'll never be good. Also, your team's uniforms look like some shit a drunk college student made while fucking around on Microsoft Paint.
Testing. Check 1, check 1, 2. Give me a bed, boys. Now here's a story about a man who thought he was bigger than Florida. But when you go that big, you fall even harder. It's about a tire fire, and his name is Urban Meyer. A Hail Mary hire for a town called Duval. He's said to be the man who'd fuck the ball. Shotgun out here seeing stars. Urban's coming to be Jacksonville's czar, bringing in his assistants and guys to soothe the hidden lies of their strength coach Chris Doyle. Too bad he was a massive racist. Oopsie. His plan foiled. Forced to resign a day later. The master plan of Urban's design shit hits the fan. Enter draft time, his legend would grow, with players that he would sow. He got Lawrence a generational power, and Etienne a third down back and burgeoning flower? Until he was kissed by an injury named Lisfranc. A tough loss, his career potentially in the tank. Now all that hubbub is a bunch of baloney. He really wanted Kadarius Toney. Fined for OTA violations and player safety? Bullshit, Meyer's above the law, the NFL's a Pharisee. But look to the light, a magical sight. In comes Tim Tebow descending from the Mets. A tight end in more ways than one, he's only the best. And holy fucking shit, he's awful! Get him out of here! Maybe next time we'll try to be subtle. Not when talking about making cuts. Considering fact status, big no-no, buddy. Can't say the quiet parts out loud, it makes things muddy. The cravings are a lust for control. A love of all things him, and making his players bow down to Urban's cajole. Perhaps if the team didn't suck, it could have worked. An 0-4 start is bleak, but Meyer has his perks. Fly back home with the team, fuck that. He's got family and friends in Ohio to chew the fat. A Sigma like him cares not for rules. Flirt with co-eds he knows from his schools. Teaching girls about zone coverages, only the best. He pretends to want prevent, when he really wants hard press. Dumbass didn't really believe this would get out. Think, men, think! Dude, where the hell are those fingers going? Right in the stink? You ain't in Gainesville anymore, Herbie boy. You're not God in the NFL, this ain't your toy. The losses pile up with 2 random wins against the Bills and the Dolphins? The deception continues with James Robinson. 1,000-yard rusher not in the dictatorship of Urban. Ruin him, stunt him, destroy him with haste. Bench him so hard he'll turn into horse paste. Trevor Lawrence? Yeah, you seriously expect him to survive? He's going to rot, fester, and die alive. Don't you dare ask him who's playing for his team. That's irrelevant to him. He's got bigger dreams. Remember, Urban's the winner every time. His assistants are losers and pathetic slime. 2-11 is irrelevant. Meyer is heaven sent. Coaches must prove their worth to him. Receivers walk out and argue with him on a whim. Seriously believe he's being mean? Dude had a better staff at Bowling Green. Whistleblowers? On his staff? They'll be out of a job, he gets the last laugh. Not bad enough yet? Here's the kicker. Josh Lambo makes the legacy even sicker. Hey fucker, make your kicks, he utters to a stretching player. A swift blow to the leg, professionalism right into a flare. Urban doesn't care, Lambo's leg is weak and gaunt. I'm the head ball coach. I'll kick you whenever the fuck I want. So will Shah Khan, didn't you know? Your tenure has been a disaster, full of ego and woe. Too bad for you, Khan's got a golden boot. Kicked to the curb in week 15. Ain't that a fucking moot? Not even a year after hiring him, what does Jacksonville get? Ruined prospects, destroyed careers, and money burned in regret. A culture of fear, dysfunction, and misery. Kind of the same things you said on TV, now that's irony. Don't you worry, he never took the blame for anything. That's on those beneath him to feel the sting. Foolish decision, you see, though? Only the second coming of Bobby Petrino. He still won more in the NFL than Urban, the fucker. Maybe that'll make the co-eds pucker. And all that's left is a reputation set on fire. A man hung as a liar. You can sing it to the choir. Urban turned Jacksonville into Bourbon Meyer.
She seems to be about the right thing, so it's not your time as a coach or player to really give an opinion about something as serious as pandemic and medical and causation. I'm hearing those words, litigation and, future issues. So you just got to trust that the people care and love you and go about your business and train as hard as you can if there's a season, there is. If not, and you're a senior and get ready for the NFL, you got to do that too. So, we live under the world of E plus R equals O, and that means you can't control events in your life. You can control how you respond. Respond positively and move forward.
Yeah, so what would be, as a coach, give us a sense of kind of what that next step is? I know you talk a ton about.
The Jacksonville Jaguars lead the reigning Super Bowl champion New England Patriots by a score of 20-10. Jacksonville is on the verge of advancing to their first Super Bowl in their 23-year franchise history. What happens next will be the subject of debate for years to come.
To Lewis, shoulder in front, all for game. Miles Jack falls on it, comes up with the football.
Miles Jack is ruled down. What would have been a commanding lead turns into a blown one. Saxonville's campaign has ended in heartbreak. Since coming oh so close to the Super Bowl, the Jaguars have compiled a record of 15-41. In truth, they already sucked before that. It's time to answer this question. Why are the Jacksonville Jaguars so bad? Finding rock bottom. Having your own fans and even ex-players dress in clown gear because you're keeping your general manager is pretty bad. But that's not rock bottom for this franchise. In fact, the clown out ended in hilarious fashion and gave the franchise a glimmer of hope. We will all agree that the day Urban Meyer was fired is rock bottom for a franchise that has been on the verge of a Super Bowl multiple times. But in order to understand Jacksonville's low point, we have to understand how we got here. Well, how did we get here? The story of Jaguar doom is not limited to the worst coaching hire in the history of the NFL. He was just a Hail Mary that was picked off and returned 100 yards the other way. Jacksonville's descent into football hell truly began in 2011 when the team cut David Garrard and drafted his successor, Missouri quarterback Blaine Gabbert. Before ridding themselves of Garrard, the Jags were not a losing organization. In their first 16 years, the team posted an even or winning record 10 times, including 6 trips to the postseason and 2 AFC title games. The Jags were a proud team that centered its identity around bruisers like Natron Means and Fred Taylor, later to be paired up with eventual rushing champ Maurice Jones-Drew, as well as one of the best receiving duos of the late 90s, Jimmy Smith and Keenan McCardell. Their rise to instant success was unprecedented, especially when compared to the pathetic Texans and Browns. Led by Tom Coughlin and then Jack Del Rio, the Jags were relevant up until 2007, losing to the Patriots in the divisional round. It would be another decade before the Jags returned to the postseason. The team that started out doing everything right started doing everything wrong. As stated before, Garrard was replaced by the hapless Blaine Gabbert, whose greatest highlight in the NFL was a soundbite.
Whoa there, motherfucker!
Then after Gabbert clearly couldn't cut it, the Jags opted to spend a top 5 pick on Blake Bortles, and compounded that mistake by spending another top 5er on running back Leonard Fournette, passing on the opportunity to take Deshaun Watson or Patrick Mahomes. The team fired beloved coach Jack Del Rio and brought in Mike Mularkey, whose name literally means bullshit. They went 2-14. Mistakes continued at head coach as Gus Bradley and Doug Marrone followed. Over the years, the team has been subject to rumors of being moved to London, as owner Shad Khan has deep ties to the UK. The team has also been compared as a side act to the AEW, a wrestling promotion Khan also owns, and seems to fancy much more than his losing football team. As the Jaguars found themselves moments away from the Super Bowl in 2018, their one blip on the map doesn't hide the fact that they were awful for a decade prior and had one decent year and have been god-awful since. Blake Bortles ended up being cut. Jalen Ramsey traded. The Jags go 1-15. But all of those missteps along the way pale in comparison to their most recent visible fuck-up.
The new head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars, Urban Meyer.
The complete timeline of Urban Meyer.
Of all the coaches I've met in my life, college football coaches, I think Urban's really, really smart. If not the smartest, it's a short list. Too many coaches I'm a ball coach. I got my whistle. I got my plays. Urban Meyer's miles ahead of that. This is a perfect entry point and a perfect fit.
Isn't that fitting? Someone who thinks he knows so much more than others, talking about a coach who thinks he knows so much more than others. After a successful college career and 2 resignations precipitated by health issues, Urban Meyer is named the 6th head coach in Jags history on January 14th, 2021. Yeah, that was just a year ago. The next 12 months will be filled with acts fit for a circus, complete with a clown show. Meyer announces his coaching staff, which includes former Iowa strength and conditioning coach Chris Doyle. Less than 48 hours later, Doyle resigns amid allegations of racism and bullying. Meyer would state that he vetted Doyle and was very confident that he wouldn't be a problem.
I vetted him thoroughly along with our general manager and owner. Feel great about the hire, about his expertise at that position. So we vetted him thoroughly, and
it wouldn't be the first time Meyer was involved with a weirdo coach. Tim Tebow is signed as a tight end. After 2 snaps in a preseason game, Tebow is discovered to have absolutely no business out there, having the blocking ability of a modless Discord server. Meyer seems to already be toying around with the Jags like they are a sideshow. It would indeed get worse. The Jaguars are fined $300,000 for violations of contact during off-season practices, Urban Meyer being personally fined $100,000. Yes, during the offseason, Herb was already pissing his players off by overworking them in the hot Florida sun. I'm surprised he didn't have them run the Oklahoma drill. Red flags going up. After a Week 1 blowout loss to the Texans, Meyer is already rumored to be linked to the vacant head coaching position at USC. Urban flatly denies the allegations.
Yeah, there's no chance that I'm here and committed to try to build an organization.
Get used to press conferences where he denies stuff. After losing to the Broncos, Vic Fangio tells the press that Meyer told him every week is like playing Alabama in the NFL after the two talked following the loss. Seriously, did Urban Meyer not understand that he was in the NFL? Every week is not like playing Alabama. Every week is like playing an NFL team, you putz. After starting 0-4 and losing a close Thursday night game to the Bengals, Meyer curiously decides not to join his team on the plane back to Jacksonville, opting to stay in Ohio. We would never have found this out had he not been film practicing for his upcoming OBGYN board exams on a young woman who was not his wife in the bar he owns in Columbus. Meyer would issue an apology about as sincere as a baseball player and the aughts apologizing for using steroids.
To say I'm concerned, yeah, I am concerned, but I just gotta, do right.
Meyer is put on notice by Jaguars owner Shad Khan 4 weeks into the season. The Jags go back to grinding. Star running back James Robinson is benched during a 30-point loss to the Rams after fumbling earlier in the game. Urban Meyer immediately deflects blame for the benching, stating that he was not responsible.
I don't get too involved, like I said. I don't micromanage that, and I know he's been dinged up.
Immediately, reports came out stating otherwise, as it was alleged Meyer himself ordered the benching. Rookie QB Trevor Lawrence had to request Robinson be put back into the game, and the spillover was apparent in the post-game press conference. Robinson is a 1,000-yard rusher. Another bizarre report from Duval surfaces as Tom Pelissero alleges that Urban Meyer, with a record of 2-10 at the time, had called his assistant coaches losers. Meyer called the report nonsense, though it came from very credible sources. Also in the report, Meyer had harshly criticized his receivers, so much so that veteran Marvin Jones left the facility, only to return to confront Meyer. Meyer again brushed off the interaction like an absolute sociopath would, stating the two were fine and laughed about it. I think Marvin Jones laughed because he knew he wouldn't be seeing this clown for much longer. Now here's the kicker. Former Jaguars strong leg Josh Lambo, who had been cut in the preseason, detailed an incident where Urban Meyer literally kicked him in pregame warm-ups and had labeled him as a dipshit. Lambo admitted it was not a hard kick, but nonetheless unacceptable contact. Meyer again denied the allegations. Later, after Twitter and ESPN had a goddamn ratings field day, Urban Meyer was mercilessly fired for cause at 1 in the morning. They literally woke this dude up to tell him he was fired. That's cold-blooded, honestly. Meyer would finish his NFL career with a 2-11 record, 0 road wins, and 1 vagina finger. The tent had been lifted on the circus as Meyer became one of the highest compensated coaches to ever be fired during his rookie season in the NFL. What a fucking dumbass. How do they fix this? Well, with thoughts on that, I'm going to let former Jaguars player Uche Nwaneri help me out with this segment. You can subscribe to his channel from the link below. Well, the first step of undoing this mess is to find the right head coach. They've already made the mistake of bringing back general manager Trent Baalke, who skated through this era with Jack Easterby-like impunity.
I believe that the Jacksonville Jaguars need to fire Trent Baalke because he has already put a draft under his belt, which has pretty much not amounted to much of anything in regards to production from that draft class.
The Jags need to opt for the adult in the room, or an adult in the room. That man could be former coach Jim Caldwell, who the team has already interviewed. Again, this team needs stability at the top, and the stoic Caldwell could do the trick. It could be former Jag Byron Leftwich, though the way things ended with him when he was a player could have been handled better. They do not need Bill O'Brien, who the team is interviewing. Hiring that hack would put them right back to where they were a year ago.
And the biggest thing that I think the Jaguars have to have in order to improve moving into the 2022 season is culture. Building a culture requires having leadership from a coach who understands how to motivate his players, a coach who demands respect from his players while at the same time exhibits that same respect to them and knowing that they can be relied on to get their job done.
Next, they need to build around Trevor Lawrence. The first overall pick's rookie campaign has been less than promising, but he has shown flashes. Environment and supporting cast is the #1 factor when it comes to a young quarterback's success, and the Jags need to surround their massive investment with an even bigger investment.
The Jaguars need some draft capital. This is a franchise that is trying to rebuild from pretty much nothing after the disaster that was Urban Meyer. So there's going to need to be a litany of picks available to them in order to try and fill out this roster with some young talent as quickly as they can.
They also need to shore up the offensive line and keep Lawrence clean. Right now, his jersey is getting dirtier than Urban Meyer's fingers.
Now, they're also going to need a bookend tackle on the other side of the offensive line. They could find this in the draft with somebody like Evan Neal. It's a possibility.
The Jags can trade down and use their first-round picks on multiple offensive linemen, or use the #1 overall pick on Aiden Hutchinson, who could form a devastating 1-2 punch opposite Josh Allen. You know, the one that wrecked the other Josh Allen. The cupboard is not bare in Jacksonville. In fact, they might have the most important position in sports covered already, which would put them well ahead of the curve in the NFL. So, why are the Jacksonville Jaguars so bad? It's because they can't string together any good decisions. And until Shad Khan notices the team exists, it's gonna stay that way. Send in the clowns.
Here with me, the clown out has brought victory to Duval, but there is still more work to be done. Fireball.
Inmates are still running the asylum in Duval. Trent Baalke is somehow still employed. The Jags did nearly everything in their power to fuck up their coaching search, be it from botching interviews with Kevin O'Connell to fooling everyone into thinking they'd hired Byron Leftwich and Adrian Wilson. No, firing Baalke's going to cost too much money for Shad Khan. Best to not rock the boat and clean the culture of shit that's been festering for years. You get Doug Peterson. He won a Super Bowl, you'll say. Yet ignore he won it because of Frank Reich and facing a Matt Patricia defense. It's not the worst case scenario, he'll at least try to build some semblance of culture. And if things go to shit, he knows how to deal with meddlesome GMs. Good luck, Clownsville. Honk honk. Let's get to the picks.
With the first pick in the 2022 NFL Draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Trayvon Walker, linebacker, Georgia.
Nobody knew what the Jags were going to do here. Doug Peterson wanted Ekwonu, Baalke wanted Walker, and Shad Khan wanted Hutchinson. Sounds like Jacksonville to have chaos behind the scenes. At the end of the day, Baalke somehow ended up winning like always. Trayvon is a physical freak, which is why they were so infatuated with him. Why he shot up draft boards like a cannon in the weeks before the draft. Do you trust Jacksonville to develop him, though? He wasn't used as a typical edge rusher at Georgia. Knowing the Jags' instability, I fear for his future. Best case scenario, he's traded in 3 years to kickstart another rebuild.